Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the SHC Business Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Sisk, and today we'll be featuring the Mayor of Mobile, Sandy Stimpson. Mayor Stimpson, thank you for joining me.
It's great to be here, Ethan.
Yeah.
It's exciting for me.
It's really exciting for me.
Yeah, good.
You know you're dealing with someone important when me trying to contact you. I couldn't even contact you. I was contacting your wonderful team.
Well, I guess that's a good thing because they know more about what I'm supposed to be doing than I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And they're the ones that actually suggested and said, this is something we really need to do. So they're on your side.
I appreciate them.
Yeah.
How many total team members do you have that are
So there's about 2,000. Really, if you look at all the city employees, it's about 2,000. When you look at an org chart of the city, and you would be a director or at a director level, you could be a police chief or fire captain or something. When I look at the city organizational chart, there's about 80 people on it. But I only have about seven or eight direct reports to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you're a lifelong resident of Mobile?
Absolutely.
How have you seen Spring Hill College develop over the years?
So when I think about Spring Hill College, and it's things that I've actually learned more since I've become the mayor, and I would say it's the impact that Spring Hill has had on the lives of individuals and the community through individuals. But because of I'm going to call it the Tuition Assistance Program. I'm sure there's another name that Spring Hill goes by for that. But y'all have allowed so many people to get a college degree from Spring Hill because of the tuition assistance that otherwise may have never gone to college. Mm-hmm. And that not only transformed their lives, but these are smart, talented people that are very appreciative of the opportunity. And I find that people that feel that way and feel kind of a sense of responsibility based on that, they give back to their community wherever it is they live. And so Spring Hill has had a huge impact on our city as well as state and nation.
Yeah.
Just through its graduates.
I'm going to try to make an impact myself.
Well, you will. Yeah.
Does the tuition assistance, does that come from Spring Hill itself or the city or federal?
No, it comes through Spring Hill. I mean, it's just this thing that they have internally, that they have funded internally. And what it amounts to is that I don't know exactly how they work it, but let's just say if you're maybe short a little bit of full tuition, being able to pay, it seems that they have found out a way to assist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You've been mayor for 12 years?
I've been mayor for 11 going into my 12th year.
It'll finish on 12.
I'll finish on 12. That's 3 terms. I started in November 4th of 2013. Mm-hmm. So I'm coming up on that anniversary. This coming Monday will be the beginning of the 12th year.
Is there a party planned? What's the celebration?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I say that kind of funny in a funny way. I'm actually going to get together with some of the team members, probably 40 or so, and we're going to talk about how I think why we've been successful, but what we've got to do to push through the finish line. Mm-hmm. This isn't about just coasting to get to the date of November of 2025. It's about trying to tee up the next mayor for success and things that we know that we must do in order to give them a better opportunity to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on who you think the next mayor might be?
Well, I have some thoughts on that, but the process has to work a little further along to find out who else is going to enter into the race.
Gotcha.
That right now, not everybody, I think, has made up their mind. There are a lot of people that are considering it.
Yeah.
But until you know who all the players are, it's hard to really, say, pick somebody. And a lot of times there are people that decide not to run that could be very qualified, but for some reason they don't. So we're going to wait and see who's in the race, and then we'll be able to determine who we think would do the best job.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What inspired you to run?
So I'll make it brief, but for a period of probably 20, 25 years, let's say if I was 60, so when I was 40, let's say, I was helping people run campaigns. I was typically someone's finance chair, and so I was raising money. I was never involved in the political process other than trying to help somebody get elected that I thought would make wise and informed decisions. So during that process, I met a lot of people, and people started saying, "When are you running? When are you going to run? When you're running for governor? When you're running for senator?" And I had no intention of running for anything, just because I didn't think it was a need to, and I didn't have that aspiration. But as I looked at the city of Mobile, I felt like it could be run in a better fashion. I felt like that we were missing a lot of opportunity, and that things could be done differently. And I felt like that having a broad business background, kind of a multifaceted background, that I could bring something to the table and make a difference. And so as I talked to my business partners and my family, it's kind of getting the nod to do it. And kind of the end of the day when I was talking to my wife, we were having a conversation, and she was warm to it, let's say. She wasn't on fire about it, but she was warm to it. But I told her, I said, I really don't want to get to heaven and God say, "Sandy, why didn't you run?" I kept sending you messages, because that message could be through you or it could be through anybody, saying, asking me questions. And so because that kept on happening, I'm thinking, maybe I am supposed to run. And so I really knew nothing to speak of about being the mayor. I'd never been to a city council meeting, maybe one prior to being elected. But that's how we started. And there were a lot of people who didn't think we could win. But I never thought that we wouldn't. But that was just being
You're right. You're right.
I just thought we'd win. Yeah.
Looking back on your tenure,
Yeah.
do you feel that it was the right decision, that you really grabbed God's plan for you?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, the team members that you've talked to and those that are, let's say, in the top 30 or 40, they'll tell you that from a spiritual standpoint, that we try to do things from the basis that you would find the principles biblically based, but also we have a prayer team that's praying for us and the city all the time. So that doesn't mean that that we've done everything exactly right and all that we do is according to God's will, but it's with the forethought that what is God's will that we want to be doing. So that's how we've approached it. Yeah,
I feel like when you put that into perspective, you're like, okay, what really is my plan? What should I be doing? It really helps your mind open to all the different possibilities that you can be doing.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing that I would make a comment about the team, we have a very diverse team. It can be racially diverse. I'd say they're probably Republicans and Democrats, although we never ask anybody what they are. Age-wise, male, female, and there's always a lot of ideas. Like we have an issue, and so different individuals on the team will weigh in about how we should approach something. And I think that's been very important, being willing to listen and being able to pivot. Because at any given day, we may walk in thinking we're getting ready to deal with one issue, and all of a sudden we got 3 or 4 issues that are just as important. And so you have to be nimble, you have to be quick, and just easier if you're forthright also.
In your 11 years, what changes have you seen in Mobile?
Well, so let me back up again and say this, that with the forethought of after being elected and after starting to understand the challenges at hand, one way I articulated it was I said, we want to fix the things that are broken in the city of Mobile, something that we can directly impact. Now, broken can be broken infrastructure, like there's drainage systems, roads, so anything infrastructure. The way our parks looked, bathrooms not working. It could be rules and regulations or city ordinances that we have. So we focused on the city of Mobile. I never was elected with the thought that I want to be something else other than the mayor. I felt like after being the mayor, I would retire. A lot of people that choose to run for office, maybe for mayor, they want to be a senator. So a lot of their decisions are based on their personal, how people would perceive them to be, how they've addressed national issues. So to me, from a mayoral perspective, weighing in on national issues can be a real trap for you because I can't affect them really. But what I'm going to do when I take a stance on some of that, I'm going to alienate somebody who otherwise would support what we're doing. So I feel like one of the reasons for success is that we've stayed away from things that we can't do something about, and we've tried to focus on the things that we can do something about that directly impact our citizens.
And kind of to that point, broadly speaking, more people vote in national elections than their local elections when statistically they have more impact in local. How do you think we can push people to vote in local elections?
Well, first off, I say it's you being an upcoming graduate. I hope that you'll always vote, and I hope that you will encourage others to vote. And I've thought a lot about that. How do you inspire somebody to vote? And so often people think, my vote just doesn't count. And every now and then you can read something that says, so-and-so won by one vote. Well, people they just kind of smile at that, just like you just did.
Yeah.
And they kind of think I wouldn't be the one. Well, I actually had dinner Sunday night with a state senator we were in Auburn, and he told me that he won by one vote. And I'm thinking, that is something I would be trumpeting out there if I was trying to convince people to vote in my city council race or the mayoral race. But people just kind of don't believe that because it's not often that it happens that way. Another thought I had was that if I really wanted to get people to vote, is that sometimes people recognize they're not being held accountable, for voting. Nobody knows that I didn't vote. They look at me and they think, yeah, sure he voted. Well, I'd love to have the voting list of all the registered voters, and after the election, have Lanyap run the list of everybody's name that did not vote, to humiliate them, because from my perspective, they need to vote. And the reason I say that is that I've learned from fundraising perspective, when people realize they don't want to be singled out for something that they didn't do that they should have done.
Certainly not, yeah.
So, but I've not bought all that advertising space in Lanyap, just for the record. Nobody needs to worry, but they should vote this coming Tuesday, okay?
Yeah. So can we speak back to your, the initiatives and projects that have been done?
Yeah, sure can.
The thing, I commend you on all of them, but the thing I'm most excited about is the new venue that's going to take place of Civic Center.
The arena. We're calling it the new arena.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So there's probably, if you were to put all the files together, pull out the file drawer and look at all the plans and all the stuff the three previous mayors did, they'd probably stack up something like that. Okay? I mean, so many studies have been done. And the challenge has always been, what do we put there? How much is it going to cost? Do we get more than what we had? Okay. Well, the further along the timeline we went, the older the facility became, the more outdated it became. And so what we found ourselves in a situation where we didn't have any of the best performances wanting to come to Mobile. We couldn't have any of the arena sports to speak of the ones that are around now, like arena football, arena. You could have ice hockey, but you couldn't have soccer and those kind of things that are going on around the country now. So anyway, as we went through 2 or 3 iterations of what it should be and who was helping us design it. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a world-class arena where no matter what is going on, if it's going on in an arena somewhere in the United States, it can be done in our arena, okay?
Terrific.
And so all the best performances that can be there. Now, so there's another part to that is you can have a great facility, but if you don't have great management, then you probably are not going to get the best performances. And so we've hired the best company to do that, do all the booking, and whether it's hockey, whether it's a concert and all. And so they'll be doing that. So you take the facility, you take the best in the market to be able to get the best artists. And so from a perspective of the citizen, it ought to be great, ought to have a great outcome.
I feel it will. And just already the plan is just exciting as a citizen.
Yeah.
Has a name been set yet for the arena?
No, but Ethan, for about $50 million, we can name it after you.
Hey,
That's right. That's right.
see if I can get a loan at the bank for that.
That's right. No, we would be looking for a lead sponsor, and typically that's some corporation, that for a certain amount of money that their name can be on there, like you have the, Mercedes-Benz, Superdome or whatever. So, of course, we're not in that league, but we do hope to find a sponsor that's willing to help defray some of the cost through that sponsorship.
Yeah. There's going to be some Mardi Gras capability in the arena as well.
Yeah. So absolutely, and actually, it'll be better than the capability or the capacity that we currently have. And the architects and those involved with the design said this arena will be better than any arena that they've ever done, simply because we're having to make accommodations for Mardi Gras, and because we're making accommodations for Mardi Gras, that expands what typically an arena facility would have. So we could have multiple things going on at the same time. So it's going to be a win-win.
Yeah, certainly. How big is Mardi Gras for Mobile?
So depends on who you talk to, but it's huge. It's part of our culture. Obviously, it was founded here.
Yeah.
And I used to put a billboard up on I-10 going to New Orleans, giving New Orleans permission, the mayor of New Orleans permission to have Mardi Gras. And that created always a lot of fun conversation back and forth. From an economic impact, I would say this, that years ago there was a report that was put out talking about the economic impact. Well, it was very flawed, but it planted a seed in people's mind, that it meant $200 million economic impact to the city. Well, I can tell you, it does not, okay? If anything, because of what it cost us through police and fire and cleanup and everything, it's probably, and like a lot of the hotel rooms that you would think of being rented by people from outside of the city, a lot of those that may be in the Mardi Gras court making their debut. But at the end of the day, it is probably financially a break even, which people do not, they just think that can't, it's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
Well, we have some measurements where, like, we didn't have Mardi Gras one year because of COVID. And we looked at the revenue then, but we looked at our expenses then. Anyway, so we have some markers out there that we could make a case that it's about a break even. But as I said at the very beginning, it's more of a cultural situation. For us, it's something that future mayors need to continue figuring out how to do. The Mardi Gras, the number of Mardi Gras organizations is growing, so it's a big deal. And even though they're growing and you have that growth, our expenses are growing also.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Next point is business.
Yeah.
I'm a business student and fascinated with it all. And your background's business before mayoral?
So actually, from a working perspective, started 13 working in my family's business, which they were in the sawmill and lumber manufacturing business. And so at age 13, I was sweeping floors out in the mechanic shop. And I was the gopher. Go for this, go for that. And so by the time I got to college, my father he had convinced me I needed to get a civil engineering degree. So for 2 summers, I worked for a local contractor. Again, summertime job, so you're still kind of the gopher, doing that kind of work. But then by the time I was a senior, my father said, we're getting ready to expand the company. There'll be room for you to come in. Would you like to do that? Well, that was something I always wanted to do, was work in the family business. Some people will say, well, you're the son of the boss. You got a cush job. Well, it depends on I guess who the boss is. And so I had 3. I had my father and 2 uncles. But they insisted that we do all the work in the mill. And we didn't have desks. I wore steel-toed boots, a hard hat, and I was out in the mill. And there were times when I would be on the night shift, sometimes the day shift. So we had to do all aspects of the process of making lumber. And the only thing I did not do was I didn't sell lumber. I never was involved in the sales of lumber. But from a manufacturing perspective, that's what I did. But I ended up about 10 years as the chief financial officer. And the lumber manufacturing business is very cyclical, meaning that there was boost and boost and bust or famine. Every 5 years or so, whenever the housing market was good, the lumber business was good. But then the bad times, you had to have made provisions to be able to work through the bad times, and that takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
And so,
what was it like during the 2007, 2008 crisis?
We were able to buy one sawmill because they shut down, and we were able to merge with another because of how, let's say, much money those facilities were losing, but also it helped them. One of them we bought, one of them we merged with, and that was the way we survived. But it was very, very tough. I mean, it was like you're holding on, hoping that you make it to the next month, knowing that you have payroll to meet, you have all these obligations. And that's when, in situations like that, you hope to have a very good banking relationship, somebody that believes in you.
Yeah.
Well, we had established credibility, let's say, that they did believe in us. They furthered the funding that we needed to make it through the turn, and we did. And after that, it's probably it was in 2013. Actually, the year I was elected mayor, we actually sold to another company, Canfor, which is a international forest products company. And it was a great move for all of our employees, for family, and everybody. But that happened the week before I was elected mayor.
There's got to be a coincidence.
What's
maybe.
Going on? Yeah, maybe so.
How's your background as CFO helped you make financial decisions for the city?
So I'd say it's been really, really helpful. I mean, obviously, I don't go down, not obviously, but I don't go down in the accounting department or in the finance department and start trying to add numbers up, okay? But having done what I did do, when the finance team members bring information to me, I can look through it through a lens that maybe other mayors who hadn't had that experience are not looking through, okay? And I think that's been very, very helpful because upon being elected, the city was not in a very strong, matter of fact, it was in a very weak financial situation. And we had to do some really radical things coming at first week of being in office. And but in doing the things that we did, we didn't lay anybody off. We were able to tighten everything down and do things differently, and actually ended up the first year with a surplus where if we had not changed what was the normal operating procedure, we would have had something like a $12 to $16 million loss. So,
dang.
Yeah.
So you saved that?
Yeah, I mean, no. And so I think every year since then we've had an operating, we call it an operating surplus, and if you were in the business world, you would call it a profit. Okay, and that's what's allowed us to do a lot of the things that we're doing now.
I saw online that you reduced the bond indebtedness for the city by a large number.
So when we were elected, I think we owed $312 million, and we've paid it down to $100 million. I think in February we'll be down to $100 million. We've borrowed no money. We're getting ready to for the new arena, but we borrowed none, and we refinanced all the debt, which was huge because we saved a whole lot of interest on doing that. And we also, the city council, we suggested it, but they agreed with it. We had a resolution whereby we would make sure the city always had 2 months operating reserve. So if you have a hurricane and all of a sudden we quit collecting revenue, which would never completely dry up, but we could. We have a rainy day fund, so we could continue to pay employees until things maybe turned. And so that is hugely important to have, and that's about $50 million. It's probably almost $60 million, between $50 and $60 million that is parked in an account that we will not touch unless there's some kind of national emergency or some kind of situation that would allow us to do that.
Was the fund established before you took office?
No. Well, it was supposed to be, okay, but they didn't have it. It wasn't there. There was no money there.
Nice. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. But hey, and I'll say this: but that was a situation with a finance director who His name was Paul Wesch. It was his idea. He convinced the city council that it was a good idea, and it was and still is. And so that's where we are. Yeah.
What would you say your most radical early decision was when you're turning around the financial situation?
So there had been an election promise made by the by my opposition, and promised them a raise January 1 if he won. And or I don't know if maybe promise is not the right word, but he announced that there would be a raise on January 1. And so December 27th, the finance director walked in my office and said, "Mayor, we have no money to give that raise. And if we do, we will, we'll have this huge operating deficit, meaning we'll lose money for the year. And we can't do it." And so I think it was on New Year's Eve, or maybe it was the day before New Year's Eve, I went on, put out, I think, a press release and maybe even did a news interview and just said there would be no raise until we can afford it, okay? Well, that didn't endear me to any city employees. I mean, you can imagine, a brand new mayor, we're supposed to get this money, and he says we can't get it, okay? But I did tell him that once we can afford it, we'll give you a raise. And so in 11 years, we've probably given 10 raises.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so most recent thing we did was we moved the starting pay from on our police and fire, the entry-level pay, from in the low 42, so range, I think that's right, to like $52,000 a year. And that's hugely important because that'll stop that should help us attract more qualified people, and also it'll stop the turnover and them going somewhere else.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's huge.
That is huge. Yeah, because if you don't have a safe city, people will go somewhere else if they can afford to. There's some people that cannot afford to move, so they're locked in. And but for those that can move, they'll move. Yeah,
they will.
Yeah.
All right, to start winding down, because I know you got a bunch of meetings for the rest of the day.
Good. Yeah.
What advice do you have for young people?
Get involved. Yeah, get involved, and you're involved. Okay, you're doing this. Okay, and there are a lot of your buddies that are probably sitting on the sideline, and they're having a good time, and everybody should have a good time while they're in college. Okay, but we're in a situation where if we don't have young people engaging and trying to make a difference, what you'll find is that my generation and those that are older than you will be making decisions that may not be in the best interest of the younger. And I'll give you this analogy. I was on a school board once, and it was run by, all the board members were very old. They're about my age now, okay? But they were very old at that time. And when you get to be a certain age, you're not willing to take risk. And so in the business world and in life, you have to take risk, and you want them to be a calculated risk, not just go do some crazy stuff. So that board over a period of years evolved. What we realized is that we needed some of the older guys, let's say 60 years old or so, that had children graduate, so they knew what the end product was. But we also had some moms and dads on the board that had children in pre-K, and then some that had them in middle school. Well, for those parents, that these are the first children that they have going into school, no school can give them everything they want because their aspirations for those children are so high, they don't think the school's doing well enough. But what they're doing is, in a good-natured way, they're trying to push. They're pushing to try to make the school better. Some of the things they're pushing may not be exactly right. Some will help it. But it's that combination of diversity and age which is important.
Yeah.
So I've given you a long story to say, if you just sit on the sideline and you're silent, nobody is taking into consideration what you think what should be done. And the other thing that you will find out is once you get engaged, you'll find out that you're not always right. You're convinced, that we ought to do this way. Well, you'll get involved in some initiative or whatever, and it starts running its course, and all of a sudden you say, wow, I didn't think about that. Well, you didn't think about it because maybe you weren't old enough to maybe to have the wisdom to understand it. But I think it's that dynamic, that interaction of diversity, and it's not just, I've used an age example, but it's also, it can be racial, and it can also be diversity of political party too.
Well, I'll do my best to keep staying involved.
So we actually hired 3 graduate, and we did 3 interns from Spring Hill, probably 6 years ago or 5 years ago. And they came in and worked for a period of time, maybe a year, and all of them have gone on and are very engaged, making a difference in the world, making the world a better place.
I was able to talk to one of them, Ryan Flynn.
Awesome guy.
Yeah.
Ryan is awesome. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, I love Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, lastly, I have a good friend back home in Dallas that hopes to become mayor of Dallas one day.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for him, and how can he go about that?
Well, it's hard to just sum it up, but say you got to be willing to really work hard from an electioneering standpoint. And whether it's knocking on doors, making phone calls, and you've got to have a team that, say, of seasoned political people that have run a campaign before.
Yeah.
That understands how you look at polls and read polls. But you've got to stay true to your conviction. You don't want to be flip-flopping just because a poll says this or that. And so another thing I would tell him is what does he want Dallas to be? What's his vision? If he can't articulate the vision for what he wants Dallas to be, then he's going to struggle, because everybody that lives in Dallas that's going to vote, there's one thing in their mind: what's in it for me? Okay? What's in it for me? How's it going to impact me if he gets elected? So when we cast a vision for One Mobile, that was to unite the city, okay, to become a safer, more business and family-friendly city. Well, people could, if they thought about that, they thought a safer city, well, surely that impacts me. I'd love to have a safer city, okay? And if you're going to be more business friendly, that's about creating jobs or job growth, maybe within the same, but you want to create that environment where businesses can thrive. And family friendly has to do with, what's the education like? What are the amenities? Where can I go to? What parks? What shows are there? What is there to do for fun, hiking or whatever? So by uniting and working together, you can focus on safer, more business and family friendly. And so we had cast that vision, and we still talk about it today. What are the impact, like this initiative? Is it to make the city safer, or does it make it more family friendly? And what box does it fit in? So have a vision, be able to work hard, make sure that that vision can touch all people. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to send him the interview, and if you can't make it through, I'll send him the clip, so make sure he gets it.
Good deal. Tell him good luck.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on campus and all the wisdom you bestowed on me and the viewers.
Look, if you invite me to dinner one night, I'll give you some more. It won't cost you anything but a dinner.
Where do you want to go?
I don't care. We'll go to McDonald's if that's your place of choice.
No, we'll go somewhere better.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good deal. Ethan, good luck to you.
I would like to personally thank everyone who tuned into this episode of the SHC Division of Business podcast. Our aim is to give young professionals insight into their desired field or potential job of choice. If you gain anything from this, or have any compassion whatsoever, please share with someone you see fit.